What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to Stocks by the Numbers, and today I'm doing a quick update here on a stock that I know a lot of people are watching. We were watching this trend line right here about a week ago. As I made the video, the stock broke the trend line, looked like it began to try to retest and retrace back above it, and then of course rejected and started to chunk down, and then the company announced that they're looking to make an offering of more shares, so the stock began to drop down. However, has steadily kind of been hanging around this trend line right here, coming from these lows across to that low, this trend line right here, as you can see. And you can see we're at about like the low 240s here, which is basically where the stock bounced off of. Now, it hit a low of 225 yesterday, and I'm sure that definitely pissed a lot of people off, especially if you just got in up at 3.25, 3.5. So believe me, I do feel your pain. However, you are not alone. There are a bunch of people that have messaged me about this stock, and of course, whether it's this stock or another stock, chances are 10 out of 10 people you speak to have experienced the same issue that you're going through. So again, just remember, you bought it for a reason. Stay positive, stay confident, stay focused, and just weather the storm. And of course, it's all hindsight now, but if you do happen to have yourself in a position where you have some extra liquidity, if you wanted to start averaging down here, down in the twos, that's understandable. Obviously, if you kind of went all in and you're kind of cash poor right now, then that's the opposite of what you want to hear. But let's see what's going on here. So again, SoundHound AI, ticker symbol SOUN here on the NASDAQ. Stock up about 5.33% right now, $2.46, bouncing off of these lows, again, 2.25 that were hit yesterday. And right now it's sitting basically right around this trend line here that I drew down. Now, I was waiting to see really how much the market would react. And this little bounce right here is actually a really good sign, because if it broke that, in my opinion, see, I drew out a price here on this trend line coming across, because chances are, if it breaks this trend line, it will most likely begin to drop and ride this orange trend line, and then you may even have a breakdown here to sub $2. Now, I know it seems extreme. However, again, this is a small cap stock, and they are more volatile, and they have larger drops and higher swings up. So, to see this stock just massively pull back to $2 or sub $2, it actually could happen. However, doesn't seem very likely, right? Again, seems like they brought it down here and then bounced it right back up to this level right here, which again, if you recall, was a key level that we looked at here when we first looked at the stock down at like 180, 190. We said that in the short term we can get to about 240, 245. And as you see, that's where the stock is trading right now. So really all it did from the time we looked at it is go back to the initial level that we first spoke of. Now, obviously, if you got in here when we first made the video over at $1.90, and then the son of a bitch rallied to over $5, well, obviously you made yourself, over 150% or whatever that was. So that's why this has been a big winner for us. So I understand that on these down days, people would step in and assume basically that they were buying, a $4 or $5 stock down here in the mid threes, the low threes, the high twos, whatever it was. So we do still have a decent play here, in my opinion. I do still believe in the company long term. Again, this is an AI audio company. Right now here at these levels, you're looking at a market cap of about $530 million. The problem was when the announcement was made, I think the market cap was about $600 million and change. Then they announced it was $400 million mixed. Yeah, $400 million mixed shelf offering. But it said also that they were looking for, I think like $130 million or $150 million right off the bat. And if we did that little calculation there, it was about 25% of the market cap. So watching the stock go from, like 280 down to like 220 or whatever it was at the time, it was almost in line proportionately with how much they were offering of new shares in comparison to the overall value of the market capitalization at the time. So if they issue 25% of the market cap of new shares, then watching a drop of 25% in stock value is 110% justified. So again, a little bit of a bad timing if you recently jumped in. I'm sure a lot of people may have stepped in here at about 3.25, hoping that it was going to regain that trend line. And of course, it broke, it dropped, and then they made the offering. But again, long term, I still do feel confident in the stock. And again, it is up roughly, still up about 30% from where we first found it down there at about $1.90. So chances are, in my opinion, seeing this bounce here, very, very good news in my eyes. And we may potentially just kind of ride this trend line slowly back up here into the 260s, 270s, and so on and so forth. But again, coming up soon here, August 8th, we have the company coming out with earnings, estimates of $8.067 million with a loss of 11.7 cents a share. So if the company is able to come in and post some good numbers there, the stock is definitely going to positively react, and you could see a rebound here, potentially even to this fib level of about 335. So we could regain about $3 and change based off of these numbers here. And again, off of this miss, the stock still went higher. However, the quarter before, as we see, the revenue is starting to come in for the stock, which is why, in my opinion, I basically liked it overall and gave it a buy recommendation, in my opinion, across the board. And again, it is a small cap company. We're dealing with only $500 million, so of course it could break the trend line and drop at a moment's notice. However, if this is the low where they brought it, and this is where they're supposedly bouncing it off of, we now have to make the assumption that new shares are coming in at $230, $240, $250 a share, which means bringing the stock down to that level, again, is understandable. And based on the positivity it had before this announcement, it will most likely, in my opinion, again, kind of ride this trend line up and start to slowly increase in value. We may even see a little bit of a rally going into these earnings here on August 8th. Are they going to beat the revenue? Honestly, I don't know. We know how earnings are. Complete dice roll, 50-50. However, if they do come in above these expectations again, I have to say that that will be viewed as good news, and the company should, in my opinion, really be able to retrace at least into the high twos here, back to this gap down, if not above 3 and back to the fib level. So now it may take some time, right? Because now you may run into a situation where the company actually beats these earnings coming up and then doesn't really move, right? Because remember, again, they offered more shares, so people obviously view that as a negative. You're diluting the stock. So that's why we could technically even remain flat or not really move going all the way out until next quarter's earnings, which would be out towards about early November. So only time will tell, but this was our key trend line. This is what got everything started, and that's why I made the update video, because I saw the stock pulling back and touching that trend line. So I wanted you guys to know that whether you were in or if you were looking to get in, that was the key level that you had to watch. So if you saw it break that trend line and close below it, and you were smart enough to liquidate the position and get out at that time, well then congratulations, my hat's off to you. You played it very well. And now positioning yourself down here, sub 250, 240, obviously, in my opinion, I still say on the long term, it's going to work out nicely. But switching over here to stock charts here, you can see on the daily too, it's been fighting to get back above this 200-day moving average, currently sitting at $2.53, right? So it broke above it the last couple of days and has since kind of pulled below it. So we want it back above that moving average, obviously, but more importantly, again, it is this trend line that it needs to stay above. Looks like about 243 right where it is now. So if it closes below this 253 200-day moving average, yes, I can understand how it still might be viewed as bearish. But again, if it closes above that other trend line, it is now viewed as stable. So chances are what would happen in this scenario is that the stock may potentially even remain flat for 1, 2, 3 days before climbing back up to try to retrace back to where it was. But of course, you see we broke the trend line. We started to chunk down. MACD has been falling off basically since, I don't know, what's that, like July 7th or something. So the MACD again slipping, that's not really helping you out. But the RSI looked like it went down to about 31 yesterday. Now we're seeing a small bounce here. RSI on the daily currently sitting slightly above 34. But switching over here to the weekly, big truck going by. Switching over here to the weekly now, we see that the 50-day moving average has now been finally established, and it's sitting at 266. So obviously, that's going to be another key level that we want the stock to get back to. However, the most recent down days have now caused the MACD to curl and may potentially cross to the downside. So the bottom Bollinger Band on the weekly, coincidentally enough, is $1.70. And if we come back here again, you can see my bottom trend line here is $1.70. So in my opinion, that would be worst case scenario. However, again, the company was kind of rocking and rolling, and even though they missed earnings here, we're seeing more consistent revenue start to come in. So I'm really not sure if they would bring it down to $1.70. However, I would say this, if I had cash on hand and then I see them crash it down to $1.70, I would more than likely, in my opinion, I would go all in. But that's just me. I'm Mr. Vegas. I would go all in at $1.70, basically knowing that I can catch the bounce off this trend line and we can get back to $1.90, $2, and I can make money really quickly. But again, in the long term, if you're involved at 3 and change, down here at 2 and change, like we always say, if we liked it at 3 and change, we love it at 2 and change, right? And if we like it at 240, yeah, it's going to suck. But if it drops to 175, again, we liked it at 240, we're going to love it at 175. But basically, overall, we had some nice patterns setting up. This almost looked like a big long-term ascending triangle, which I was waiting, actually, for the stock to break through. However, again, it came down and tested this bottom trend line and then broke through it, and then the company made a new offering. So probably going to take a while before we see another pattern like that set up. Also, what I want you to pay attention of, now we have this big candle, and now we may just bounce off of this trend line for a couple of days, and unfortunately, I just want to raise another red flag for you, just something else for you to keep an eye on, because now we have a big red candle down, and then we're going to have small consolidation going upwards like this, potentially forming a bear flag, which could break this trend line and bring us down here to 2.25, and potentially ride along this trend line here. So only time is going to tell. However, I feel as though investors are still pretty pumped about SoundHound, right? It's like they made the new offering, so we had to bring the stock down, right? We just had to. However, it seems as though investors still have faith in the company. They have long-term goals, and they see how high the stock could go and how much business the company could potentially get involved in, several years down the road. So that's why, still remaining bullish and positive on this situation, even though it pulled back, is not a bad thing, right? Again, I'm sure over here at $1.90, $2, I'm sure there were a bunch of people that said, I don't know, the company kind of looks like shit. I don't know if I should buy it. And then the son of a bitch ran up to $5, right? So again, in the numbers, it may have looked overvalued once it started to hit the 4s and the 5s. However, at that point, you're now dealing with the FOMO, plus you're also dealing with the overall psychology of the market and of the stock itself. And of course, it has AI in its name, so it was going to climb high, and that's the move that we made. But like we always say, what goes up must come down. We just cannot remain up at all points. And again, just to go over the numbers here at 500 million, if you look here, the company, 6 million, 9 million, 11 million a quarter. We go back for the year, 30 million, right? So the company still is trading, what's that, like 16, 17 times annual revenue or something like that. I know they do have assets on hand, so again, I understand as to why the stock may not tank all the way down to like 80 cents a share, right? Understandable. However, here at this level, in my opinion, I may go out on a limb and even say that it is fair valued. And again, I would wait and see if it formed this bear flag. However, going in here initially, if you're not involved at 242, could be worse. You could have paid 442, right? So 242 could be worse. If it does drop down to $2, sub $2, again, in the short term, yes, that's going to suck. But if you have that confidence and you believe in the company long term, if you liked it at 240, you're going to love it at $2, so you would probably buy more at that level. I'm not really seeing too much more. This right here now is your key level to watch. Used to be this, and now it's this. So, a good trader doesn't predict what a stock or what the market is going to do. A good trader / investor reacts to what the market does or what the stock does. So again, as it broke that trend line, yeah, again, this is all hindsight, and I understand we all don't have the same level of expertise and the same experience or knowledge as the person to the left and the right of us. But again, that's why I made the video, to update you guys that if it broke that trend line, they were going to start to bring it down and chunk it down. And that is exactly what happened. So if you had the foresight to see good advice coming, and you listened to what I said, obviously, you made a phenomenal play here. But again, you can see, based on how it's trading, how relevant a lot of these trend lines and support levels are. As much as we don't want them to be, and we just want to buy the hype, or we want to buy the name, or we want to chase good revenues and beat up stocks with bad revenues, right? At the end of the day, again, you have to remember, these markets are now trading electronically. So these little head and shoulders patterns, the cup and handles, bouncing off support lines, retracing to fibs, and then rejecting. Unfortunately, believe me, I know it's a pain in the ass. But these things matter. So you have to keep an eye on these things. But overall, again, I know you all know that I wish you well. So if you didn't get out here at this trend line and now you're sitting on a loss, of course, I'm not going to rub it in your face and say I told you so, or you should have listened to me, what's wrong with you. Really not that kind of guy. Basically, what we have to do is we have to learn from our mistakes, right? That's the definition of insanity, right? Like they say, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So if you're not paying attention to these trend lines, meanwhile, it just fucked you over, well, guess what? Stop being insane, put your pride in your back pocket, and start paying attention to these people who are talking about these trend lines, these technical patterns setting up. And like I said, it could ride along this trend line, potentially form a bear flag, right? This is all on you now. This is all on you. Unfortunately, there are so many publicly traded companies. I cannot keep an eye on every single stock at every single price and every trend level and every trend line and every fib level. It's just impossible to do. But you have to take the knowledge and the advice that I'm giving you, and you have to now implement it into your actual practice. And unfortunately, believe me, I really do wish I can manage 10,000 of your guys' accounts. And I can go in and I can just trade for everybody and make everyone money. Unfortunately, that is not how it works. So that's why I always say I'll make the video, I'll try to do an update, I'll try to mention what I see, what could potentially happen. But at the end of the day, the ball's in your court. And whatever you do with the information is entirely your own prerogative. But again, if you made a mistake, the key here is not to beat yourself up, not to fly off the handlebars and start getting negative. Oh, this market sucks, blah, blah, blah. Don't even go down that road. We have to understand our mistake, and we have to learn from it and do better moving forward. And I'm going to end it there. So once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Just like everyone on YouTube says, like the video, thumbs up, algorithm, share the video. Helps out the algorithm, helps me get more eyes on the channel. Like the video and subscribe to the like the video and subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. I'll do updates here. I'll talk about trend lines, potential tech patterns. I'll talk about stocks in the long term that may be undervalued in the numbers that we can see nice appreciation over the next 1, 2, 5 years. You want to come in the Discord, you want some short-term scalp plays on QQQ or SPY, fine, no problem. All I ask, handshake agreement, you're going to absorb all of my content and watch it and take my recommendations and make money off of it. Fantastic, more power to you. All I ask, handshake agreement, you're going to do all that, push the subscribe button. That is how you help me help you. But moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, they're very uncertain. We have Fed rate hikes, T-minus 30 minutes. So God only knows what the hell's going to happen with the markets. I've watched the Dow spike up 300 points, then to drop 600 points to close on the day green. I saw rate hike announcements where the Dow ran up 650 points, and then the next day it was down 1,200 points midday. So very, very hard to play these rate hike announcements. So that's why I always say, I understand everything's volatile and uncertain, So I do want to wish everyone the best of success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. I want to thank you for stopping by. I'm going to catch you guys next vid.